Alright guys, let's talk about how to buy with confidence. Breaking it down by the era.
Oh yes.
Let's go. Welcome back, Gainers, to another incredible, exciting, fantastic episode of ComicGains! And if you're new to the show, I'm Adam.
I'm Zach, and this is the Princess, Royal Highness, looking very lovely today, just like usual, doing the Princess Wave. You do too, bow down, respect, and of course, there's a Cocoa Dog. Right there.
There she is. Alright guys, we have an extra special, brand new show. Kind of brand new, right? We've done how-to videos before, so this is basically a how-to, but Zach was really excited. If you guys know, he is the investing guru around here when it comes to comic books, and he wanted to share some knowledge with you guys about investing in the comic book market. And I don't want to take too much of his thunder away, so I'll let him break this down more as we jump into it. But yeah, we got some books we want to talk about over the years, how they've changed price and whatnot, and we'll dive a little deep into that. But before we do, whenever you're about to dive into something liquid, you need to have something liquid inside you so that your guts don't just explode. I heard that somewhere. I feel like that could be true.
Might be true.
Might be true.
I also heard that to remember something, you have to forget something too.
I think so. That sounds right too.
Who
Yeah.
said that?
I don't remember.
I don't remember. I'm going Green Machine, a very green, 100% juice smoothie from, guess what? Trader Joe's.
Sponsored by Trader Joe's.
Someone needs to sponsor us.
Or just vegetables. Sponsored by apples.
Oh, that's really good.
Is it good?
Yeah, really good. Also slight spiciness.
Do you feel like a green machine?
Mm-hmm.
The machine!
I think I'm ready.
You know else you can feel like a green machine?
Yeah.
Hanging out with us on Whatnot every Saturday. Come kick it this weekend. Princess will be there at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So check her out. If you're worried, log in, bookmark her show ahead of time so you know what's going on. 30-second auctions, $1 starts. And it's a really good time, you know? Me and Zach are in the background hanging out. Coco's there most of the time. Sometimes she's sleeping, but you know how it is. All right, we came here today to talk about comic books and investing and how to. So, Zach, what is today's show about?
It's how to buy books with confidence, knowing that, if you care about that, it's going to go up in price, and how to identify it, right? And to do that, we have to kind of break it down by our reasons and who actually really buys comics. Comic enthusiasts. I want to say it because I was going to say collectors, but enthusiasts is a better word, because one of the types of 4 people is collectors. So, and you can be a combination of them. So it breaks down to 4 types of people. Is readers, right? Collectors, all of us. Resellers, all of us. And investors, pretty much all of us. So,
Okay.
Yeah, so it kind of breaks down. There's a little bit of nuances with each one.
So you can be part of each one, right?
Yes.
You can have a little sprinkle of each one inside you.
Yes.
Could you just be one?
You could just be one, and that's, for a good example, is a comic reader or a comic collector. But there's also a lot of people that resell. So that's how it breaks it down, and it's kind of easy to understand what each one kind of provides to it. The readers, they buy books cover price, trade paperbacks, and prior garage sales just buy them to read them, which is fantastic, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody starts as a reader.
The backbone?
Mostly.
Is that the backbone of the comic market?
Exactly. And then the people that get collections, you want to collect it here, and then resellers that want to buy and sell, and then investors that want to put significant amounts of money into it to see if they can get those gains.
But there is people that just collect them for the covers and the first appearances, and they may not actually care to resell them.
Yes.
At least at that time,
or
right?
read them.
Or read them, yeah, right? Yeah, you could just be really pumped about a first appearance, but not actually ever read said character's first appearance.
Yes. And we're going to say that there's 5 reasons, and 5 reasons how to, 5 reasons why books go up in price. There's probably more, but here's the main reasons. It starts off, you buy books when you're younger, read it, watch a movie, TV show, all that, and you don't have a lot of money, but...
I remember that.
Yes, usually, right? But then, decades later, or a decade later, 30 years sometimes, more, you're starting to make a significant amount of money, and you're like,
Cha-ching.
I remember when I had this book or that book, or, oh, they're talking about maybe making a movie for this character. So you kind of like, oh, I want that book back. You get that 30 years and plus cash behind it to be like, I'm feeling a little nostalgic. And that's the second reason why books go up in price.
Nostalgia?
Yeah, nostalgia. You remember what you did in the past.
I'm a big sucker for nostalgia.
Yes, a lot of people are. And the funny thing about that, pretty much people of that same time period then to now, they all have the same feeling. If you ever read that book or watched that show, like what's going on right now, for example, is, you're watching Deadpool or whatever, and, 20, 30 years later, you're going to remember that movie, and you might want to buy some stuff that's related to it.
Blade 1?
Yes. Yeah, Blade 1. Yeah, that could
Getting
be
some nostalgia.
Yeah, a little bit. So now, everybody's out together. The third reason books go up in price is that everybody wants to get this book at the same time, so it creates competition.
Supply and demand.
Supply and demand. So
now you're talking economics.
Yeah, we got the competition, right? We got competition. A lot of people buying this book, talking about this book, and guess what? Other people are hearing it too. So reason number 4, you got the hive. I call it the hive mind. You got
the Borg.
Yeah, yes, exactly, like the Borg.
Resistance is futile, Zach.
Yes. So you start talking about it, then other people are like, oh, what are you guys talking about? It's like, comics? Oh, I know about comics. That's interesting. And then they start looking into it. It's like, what would you recommend reading? Then that person turns into a reader and potentially a collector. And you got another person in the mix. So now the hive mind's going on. A lot more interest is happening to it. Guess what? Those big money investors are starting to see it. This is the 5th reason. The big money investors are like, hey, there's a lot of people interested in this. We can make some money out of this.
Yeah.
And that's when everything starts popping off. And we got some great examples throughout the ages of this exact thing happening.
Ooh, we're going back in time, everybody. Yeah, I've even heard of big investment groups getting together and investing in one single book, or more importantly, a page or a cover,
Yes.
original art cover.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the big money starts coming in when they see a lot of competition and interest, and you see dollar signs.
Mm-hmm.
All I see is no. Anyways, we're gonna start from the beginning, guys.
The very, very beginning.
And Adam's got some great information.
Yeah, we gotta talk. If you're gonna talk about investing in comics, I feel like you gotta talk about the comic, the grail of all grails, Action Comics #1. Right here, 1938. Joe Shuster and Jerry Siegel. This is where it started all. This is the book to invest in comics. Yeah, I mean, just some quick stuff. I'm not going to go over my usual spiel about the background of Superman, but maybe I will a little bit, just because Zach will let me. If you guys didn't know, some fun facts. Superman started out as a villain.
Oh.
Did you know that?
No, I did not know.
Yeah, it actually started out as a short comic called The Reign of Superman. He was bald and kind of looked like Lex Luthor, and they wrote about him and nobody liked it. They said it was garbage. So they rewrote the story as him as a superhero, and they still thought it was garbage. So they kind of put it off in a pile, and when they were making Action Comics #1, they were deciding what books they were going to put inside, because as you guys know, this is actually a collection of books. It's not just the Superman book inside. And the editor at the time saw this picture and decided to put Superman in solely based on him lifting this car. Didn't actually... As far as I know, I wasn't there, but didn't actually read the story inside. I was like, this is a cool picture. Let's put it on the cover. Yeah, and there's some other cool books inside. Pep Morgan, I think is a story about a boxer, is in there. Zatara, who is the father of...
Zatanna.
Zatanna, yeah. He shows up in there, as well as everyone's favorite, Marco Polo. Yes, Marco Polo story in there. And... big debate over the years for people getting paid for this book. Joe Shuster and Jerry Siegel didn't get paid a lot. At the time, I think they were getting $10 for every page that they wrote and drew, which is the equivalent of about $130 in today's money. And back then, the book cost 10 cents, which is the equivalent to about $2 in today's market, which is pretty crazy. And they really never got any money or credit until the Superman movie came out, and Warner Brothers actually decided to pay them some royalties because they were making so much money on the movie. So really cool. You know, the grandfather of all superhero comic books would be Action Comics #1.
Started all of this. What started all of this at the beginning? Very first superhero craziness.
Craziness. I get crazy for Action Comics. I just want to smell one, dude.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I told someone that, it's like, I love the smell of books. Like, why would you like to smell books? If you get into collecting, you understand.
Unless that moldy one is a little moldy,
No,
but it's kind of hard to tell. I'm like,
yeah.
do I like this? Or is this old or moldy?
You just want old paper smell.
Yeah, old paper smell.
Not moldy old paper smell. All right, so we're going to break it down by the numbers. So the Superman movie came out in 1978.
1978, yes.
1978. And Overstreet came out, I believe, in like 1970s. So there's pricing history for it that we at least can go back to 1970. So in 1970, before the movie came out, you could get Action Comics #1 for $300.
I need to build a time machine. Get me a DeLorean right now, Zach.
Right. Okay, so in 1978, I have right here, the book for 1978 to 1979 price guide. I conveniently, thankfully, had it in my collection. And you can see right here, you can get an Action Comics #1, 1978, for $7,500.
And just a not graded, obviously. There's no graded copies in 1978, so we're talking raw.
Yeah.
For $7,500.
$7,500.
Okay.
So for just 8 years, it went from $300 to $7,500, probably because of the whole people talking about it. And then, of course, this is just when it came out. It came out $7,500. So 10 years from 1970 to 1998, I got the 1980 numbers.
Ooh.
It went up another $2,300, $9,800. You could buy it in 1980.
Still pretty affordable.
Still pretty affordable. Pretty expensive, but pretty affordable.
Well, for the time, yeah. If you're going to spend that much. There's houses at that time that were like 10 to 20 grand. Big houses.
Exactly.
Big.
So we're talking about also that from 1978, we had 30 more years. What happens in that time period? And it's something that it's pretty surprising at how much it jumps from that time and creeps up as it gets close to that 30-year mark. It explodes in value. I mean, you kind of know what it is worth now. But in 1990, you could still pick up for $50,000.
1990?
Yeah, 1990. You pick it up for $50,000. And that's near mint minus, or the highest relative grade.
Raw stuff. We're talking raw, right? Okay.
We're talking raw. We're talking raw. And as it gets close to that 30-year mark, let's go 1996. It goes for a record of $135,000. So it doubles just in a short 6 years, more than doubles. And now we go to the 30-year mark. It's actually not quite 30 years.
2 years short?
Maybe. No, actually 2 years longer, 3 years longer. In 2011, for a CGC 9.0,
Is that the highest known grade?
I believe it's the highest known grade. There's an 8.5 and a 9.0. The 9.0 sold for a record 2.1, a little bit more than that, $2.1 million. So at 30 years, it jumps up that crazy. But if you just go back to 1996, you get it for less than a tenth of the price. It's that big of that's how big of a gains it happens when you hit that 30-year mark. So it's kind of a long-term play. In 1990, you could pick one up for $50K.
Wow,
that's not very long at all.
Yeah, and then you're talking millions.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a decade and a half later.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Wow. That's just the power of that nostalgia hitting. It takes that 30 years for people to build up a bunch of wealth, like I said. When you hit 30 years plus, 30-year age plus, people start making the most money they're ever making. From 30 to 50, you're making a crap ton of money as you get older. So you have more money to spend, and you have more options to get your nostalgia back, or something close to it.
There you go.
Exactly.
I feel like by the end of this video, there's going to be a trend.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I smell the trend already. I haven't seen the end of the video yet, but I smell a trend. Are we hopping into the next decade?
Yes. Well,
What was the most a book ever sold? Recently, right?
Yeah. It went for, well, they said it might be, it was like 6.6 million.
Ooh.
But I don't know if that was a fluke or not, or if it was real, because I saw a little X out of it. But honestly, it probably should be worth more than 6.6 million by how the trend is
Better
showing.
than investing in a house.
Yes.
Should have invested in Action 1.
If I had that money in 1990, geez, I'd do it.
All right.
Wow.
Which era comes after Golden Age?
It says
Just kidding.
Silver Age.
Silver Age. And what's one of the best, if not the best, right? Silver Age book of all time?
Amazing Fantasy 15.
Amazing Fantasy 15. 1962. Stan Lee, Steve Ditko, and Jack Kirby working on this book. Obviously, this is a page.
This is a page from
Amazing Fantasy 15. We weren't able to procure a real copy. Actually, this is a real copy. It's a real page.
A real page?
Yeah, a real page of Amazing Fantasy 15. Just some quick, kind of fun tidbits about this book. Obviously, if you're not sure what Amazing Fantasy 15 is, it's the first appearance of Spider-Man, Peter Parker, everyone's favorite web slinger from the Silver Age. And this is an interesting book, not unlike the last one, and also like the last one. The other one was a #1, so it was the first time they ever made this book. This is actually an issue 15, so there's 14 issues before Amazing Fantasy 15, and Marvel was going through a little bit of an identity crisis at the time, and changing the name of this book, it actually originally was Amazing Adventures, and then took on the unfortunate name Amazing Adult Fantasies. It sounds like a dirty magazine. Yeah. They kicked out the adult and just became Amazing Fantasies. That was smart, whoever decided to come up with them. This was actually the last book in the series. They canceled it after issue 15 and didn't get an issue 16 until the mid-90s. Weirdly enough, they were like, hey, let's bring this back. Due to who worked on it, kind of a fun thing. Obviously, everyone knows Spider-Man as Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. Steve Ditko actually drew a cover for this book, and Stan Lee decided to go with Jack's cover instead. So there is actually an alternate cover for this one that would be really fun to ever see that, you know. But I mean, you can see it, but ever to see like the original of the book. And some other fun stuff I thought was really interesting is everyone always says, like Uncle Ben says, with great power, there must come great responsibility. Fun fact, Uncle Ben never said that. It's actually just a bubble in the narration in the book. Oh. It's kind of like that whole thing with like Darth Vader, like the Mandela effect, where it's like, Luke, I am your father. He never said that either. He says, no, I am your father. There is no Luke. It's the same thing. So like Uncle Ben actually never said, with great power comes great responsibility. So sorry to crush all that stuff you guys are always remembering about. But one other quick thing that I thought was kind of interesting. Same with Action 1. Amazing Fantasy, in Amazing Fantasy 15, Spider-Man is not the only story in there as well. There's actually 4. And this one's a little bit harder to say because it's not like specific characters. But there's a story called There Are Martians Among Us. Another story called The Bell Ringer. And Man in the Mummy Case. Everyone's favorite Man in the Mummy Case.
Oh, yeah, my favorite.
Yeah, so
classic story.
Yeah, then you get that nice little Peter Parker story inside. So, what do y'all think?
It's pretty cool. Thank you, Adam. That was a very, very useful information. Very cool.
Taking it to the bank.
So, what we're gonna gauge this on is the 2002 Tobey Maguire movie, Spider-Man movie, the first one. It came out 2002, so the 30-year mark is going to be 2032. But we're about we're almost there to the 2030. We're almost there to like the 30-year mark.
For all you math aficionados.
Yeah.
7 years away.
So we're going to be talking about an 8.0, right? So for 8.0 in 2001, you could pick one up for $12,825.
Wow. 12,000. Whoa.
12,000.
Okay.
Yes, that's pretty crazy. Now we're gonna cut to 2012. We got the 10-year mark right there to $71,700 for the same grade 8.0. Now, 20 years later, $448,500.
There you go, Marvel.
Crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's a crazy number. I don't know what it is right now. I think it's kind of like 2022 is like the top of the market, or close to the top of it.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't lose that much value. It's for that grade. It's floating at the $500,000.
I just probably hardly anyone's selling it right now either. This would not be the best time to sell your holy grail of Spider-Man keys.
Now, also, you could have picked up a mint copy in 1987 just for a fun tidbit. 1987 for $1,100. So it didn't really jump that much from 1987 to 2001.
Mm-hmm.
Not by much. I mean, 10 times the value, but it definitely jumped really a lot at that 20-year mark, for the 20-year mark from the movie. So people are going to suddenly come into more money once again, trend here, and they're going to be spending a crap ton of money in 2032.
Okay.
I'm guessing
2032, Amazing Fantasy will take another jump.
I'm guessing it's going to take another jump. I'm guessing it's probably going to go up to 750 to $1 million for this 8.0. That's my guess.
I can see that. I can get on board with that. I can swing on a web with that.
Yes. I think this is probably the book you probably should try to get in any grade. Any grade.
Any grade, yeah.
Or any page.
We unfortunately passed on like a 2.0 for like a decent price.
Yeah.
Should not have done that.
We'd have to take out a loan to get that one. Tempting.
Would have been worth it.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been worth it. All right, next book on the list. Obviously, if we're jumping into the next era, it would be a little known era as the Bronze Age.
Yes.
It's actually a real era.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what book are we talking about, Adam?
What's the best book in the Bronze Age?
Hulk 181.
Hulk 181. We magically got pretty much the best books from each era. That's very smart, Zach. Very smart.
Yes.
1974, this book came out. Len Wein and Herb Trimpe, as well as a little bit of guest artist by John Romita Sr. as well. And we actually did this book recently on the drop list, I think a week or so ago. So if you want any extra information, check that one out as well. But just some fun stuff on this. The reason John Romita Sr. is credited with the story is he actually redrew Hulk's face on the cover. So like they drew it and then they didn't like the way his face looked. So they just had Romita redraw Hulk's face. As well as he's actually credited with designing Wolverine's costume. So like off to the side, he like drew some preliminary artwork to kind of design how the costume was made. And it's also the reason why Marvel wanted to make Wolverine and have a like his background is they wanted to increase comic sales in Canada.
Oh.
Best way to do that, create a Canadian superhero.
Okay.
And you're going to get those sales up in Canada.
Smart.
Yeah, kind of fun. And before he landed on his iconic name, superhero name, there was actually two names they were juggling around. One Wolverine, and the other one would be the Badger. So pretty good, pretty happy that they landed on Wolverine and didn't go with the Badger. And also a fun fact as well, when they were drawing the cover for Giant Size X-Men 1, which was done by Gil Kane, he actually made a mistake drawing it and drew his mask differently. So he didn't have the short ears like you can see on this one. He drew him really tall and just didn't realize what he looked like. And while drawing the interiors, David Cockrum liked it so much he left the tall ears on, and they just stuck with it. You know, and Wolverine actually started out not as a mutant in the Hulk books. They never explained any of that. He was actually supposed to be wearing gloves with the claws like attached to the gloves, and was later retconned when they wanted to use him in the X-Men book. They were like, hey, let's just turn this dude into a mutant, and you know, that's how history is wrote. And as everyone knows, Wolverine, he is the best at what he does, which is killing people.
Yep. Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I like how he kills people. It's what gets me going. All right. So, we're talking about what you could have picked it up before a certain show or nostalgia starts hitting, we're talking about the X-Men 1992 show. That's what kind of...
Oh, the cartoon.
The cartoon.
Oh,
I mean, we
okay.
could talk about...
cartoon action.
We could be talking about the X-Men live-action movie that happened in 2000 or 2001. It was pretty good, too. I can get into that a little bit. But we're talking about 1992. That has almost the full 30... Well, that does have the full 30 years. Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
It has the 30-year kind of turnaround. And, for example, before 1992, before 1992, we got 1989. What you could have bought Hulk 181 for was $75.
Get ready. Oh, 75 big ones?
75 whole dollars.
I probably could have I probably had that much money in 1989. I was a kid, but I could have saved up $75.
Yes, and
thanks, Mom and Dad.
That's for a mint copy in the Overstreet price guide. You could have got that for $75. Now we're gonna jump all the way to 2000, year 2000, not $2,000, but the year 2000 for a 9.2. You could get one for $1,200.
That's surprisingly actually kind of expensive at that time, I feel like.
Yeah. It is pretty expensive.
Yeah, $1,200 in 2000. 2000, yeah.
Yeah, and it didn't make a big jump in 2011, but you could, the crisis still happened in 2008 crisis, and 3 years after that, it starts gonna be picking up a little bit of steam, but it's $1,400, still really reasonable.
Okay. Yeah.
Still reasonable for a 9.2, and then you go all the way to 2020, it's $6,000 for a 9.2, and of course it jumped up in 2022. I didn't write that number down, but yeah, it jumps up even more than that. But from 1989 to 2020, it goes from $75 to $2,000. So I think since the 2001 movie, it's going to hit another big milestone in 2031.
Ooh,
so
all right, 2031.
This would be a fantastic book to get in a 9.2 or better. I mean, if you're dropping less than 15,000 on it, it's probably gonna get up to that amount and then some by 2031.
Nice.
So I think that'd be a fantastic book too to get.
Cool. I mean, this may seem obvious to everybody else, but at the same time, I am noticing that each book, starting with the Golden Age, has like a higher investment ceiling, can go higher or has gone up in price significantly more than the books coming after it. Where like this book at a certain 10-year period only increased like $200 in the 10-year period, where both Amazing Fantasy 15 Action Comics 1 increased significantly more in that same time period. So
yeah,
it's interesting.
But we're also talking about like Action Comics 1 came in 1938. I don't have those numbers.
Yeah.
But from 1938 to 1970, it only went from 10 cents to $300.
Yeah, true. Very true. Yeah, that makes sense too.
Yeah, and of course there's more and more people getting the comics as that slowly starts happening. So it kind of makes sense that's gonna like trickle down a little bit from the really old stuff to Silver Age stuff, and then Bronze Age is probably gonna be the next thing that's gonna start go crazy.
So the more money you want to make, the more you gotta spend.
Yes,
as they always say.
Yes.
Yeah, as they always say. All right, the next era, which I don't necessarily believe in, the Copper Age, which I think is a made-up age. They need to officially label an age.
Yeah, because it's like modern from like 1980 something to now.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. I mean, should be a Copper Age, but someone needs to officially like label it the Copper Age. We just can't keep saying it. But arguably, this might be the only one on the list that you could argue if there's a better book than this one in that age. Maybe. But New Mutants 1991. Fabian Nicieza and Rob Liefeld. Obviously, a very important book this week coming out. The new movie coming out. Pretty major book from this time period. I'm just saying there might be, Harley may. I don't know. Maybe Harley's a better book. Maybe. But obviously, a lot of people know this is the first appearance of Deadpool, and he's actually not a very original character. He is a ripoff of Deathstroke, known as Slade Wilson, and also known as the Terminator, which he doesn't really even get the credit for either of his names, because Deadpool is more popular than Deathstroke, and Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator is more popular than him as well. And his Terminator name was like 3 years before Terminator 1 even came out.
Yeah.
And he doesn't even get that title anymore. So I am sorry, Slade Wilson, you are cool, but unfortunately, when they were pitching this character, Deadpool, they said he is going to look like Spider-Man with machine guns and katanas. The kids will love it. Let's roll with it. And he basically does. I mean, his mask is very, very similar to Spider-Man's mask, and he's an instant success in the era when anti-heroes were a big deal. Punisher was popping off. Spawn was a big deal. Everything was going crazy, and the rest is history. And it's a fantastic book. It's a cool book from the 90s. Most books in the 90s don't have a lot of value, and it's fun that New Mutants does.
Yeah, they're overprinted.
Is it a good investment book? Is it? Maybe.
Well, let's go by the history. So, book came out in 1991, I believe. Yeah, it says it on there.
1991.
1991. I was right. Finally. So it came out in 1991. We're going to base the 30-year mark on, again, X-Men animated series. I think he's kind of in there, like, in one episode.
I think someone more. I think it was in that episode where they wear the collars, where they're blanking out their powers, but I don't even think they say his name.
It's kind of loose. He shows up in a show somewhere in the 90s. I can't remember which, but we're going to go off of the X-Men animated series because you're going to get the nostalgia from that series, and you might pop off to this one too, just because it came out in the 90s, so this kind of transition a little bit. But this is one of those books that you can really only say it's like. We're going to go off of it a little bit in 1992, but really the 2016 Deadpool movie. And that's not even close to the 30-year mark.
Yeah.
It's close to the 10-year mark.
I believe there also was, when Deadpool came out in this issue, there was a massive amount of fan letters that were sent into Marvel. Everybody and their mother telling Marvel how much they love Deadpool. And they're like, yo, we all love this guy. Do something with him. And obviously, they started making solo titles and stuff like that for a villain, which was pretty rare at the time, to have a villain have his own solo book.
So you're going to say that there's going to be a lot of nostalgia 30 years from then.
Well, I'm already nostalgic.
Yeah, exactly.
Right now.
Exactly. So let's go off for the price for 2004. There was a CGC sale in 2004 for Heritage, I believe. You could get a 9.8 for $47.
Shut the front door.
Yeah,
$47?
$47.
That's barely the cost to get it graded.
Exactly. It was a screaming deal. Whoever bought that book is probably happy.
Congratulations. You're the best of us.
Yeah, exactly. Now let's go to the 20-year mark. Let's go to 20 years since the X-Men animated series came out. For the example, loose connection. You could get a 9.8 for $330. Pretty reasonable. Now let's go to 2022. For a 9.8, it would cost you at the height of the market $1,500.
Ooh.
It was 5 times the value in 10 years. Not too bad for a book that's so well printed. Mm-hmm. It's pretty crazy. I believe you can pick up one right now for about $1,000. So it didn't drop that much, 30%. Not bad at all.
Yeah.
Not bad at all. So, if you're going to go off of the next milestone, if you're going off the Deadpool movie, I'm guessing that there's going to be a nice little upscale in this book in about another 2 years.
Okay.
I
can see that.
It's probably not going to be great, but I bet you it's going to be $1,500 or more.
Okay.
I think it's going to come back with a vengeance.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those, there's a lot of people out there that said that New Mutants 98 is overpriced because of the 90s book that it is. Be careful spending a lot of money on it. But, it is what it is.
Yeah, it is. That's very true. Very true. And now, we're going to talk about the last book.
The last book. The most controversial book. I don't know if it's controversial at all. Ultimate Fallout issue number 4? 2011. This is actually a Mark Bagley cover and Brian Michael Bendis story. There's actually it's actually split up in I think 3 different stories inside with multiple artists on the interior. So it's sort of weirdly similar to Action 1, where there's 3 different stories inside and different stuff going on. And And yeah, it's in this kind of like anthology type story, Ultimate Fallout, kind of the end of the whole of Spider-Man. In that Spider-Man in this universe, the ultimate Peter Parker, and giving way to the new Spider-Man, Miles Morales. This is his first appearance. He's actually on the cover. They have his face covered so you can't quite tell who he is. You give a little story about him and learning about his powers. And if you guys ever get the chance, read Ultimate Spider-Man when Miles takes over. It's a very awesome story all the way to the end of it, where the universes combine. Just goes on this really amazing hero's journey that a lot of people love this character for that reason. I won't get too deep into it. We could have I could do a whole show about talking about Miles, and it would be really fun. Mm-hmm. But just some cool stuff that I thought was interesting about it. If you guys didn't know, one of the inspirations for Miles Morales was Donald Glover, Childish Gambino. And cool. In the TV show Community, I think in the very first episode of the second season, they show him getting out of bed and he's wearing Spider-Man pajamas. Brian Michael Bendis was watching the show and was like, hey, that's cool. We should have a black Spider-Man. It would be really exciting to have this new character. And, you know, it just took off really well. Nice. And I also thought it was really interesting. If you read, I think it's in this issue, should be in this issue or Ultimate Spider-Man 1. If you read the notes at the end where people can send in like their feelings about the character, there was one specifically, I remember telling Zach about this, I thought it was really funny. This guy wrote in how angry he was that they decided to, you know, make Spider-Man a black character, and he had very bad reasons for it, and this, you know, was just a very negative person, and he told Marvel, thank you for wasting my money on buying this book that will never be worth anything. And I was like, little do you know that you maybe accidentally made a good investment, but he said he threw it away. So always read those. Sometimes those notes in the back are really funny, especially when the editor at the time agrees to put in negative comments about the book. You know, those I think are very interesting and funny. So, the joke's on that guy.
Yes.
Yeah, also cool thing, if you're wondering how Miles ever got into the regular 616 universe after the big incursion in Secret Wars, everyone's favorite Molecule Man decided, obviously he's super OP powerful, decided to bring him over into our universe, and that's where he is today. And the reason that was is because Miles had a cheeseburger in his pocket, and Molecule Man was hungry, and he gave him that cheeseburger. And that's the reason why we have Miles in our universe.
Thank you, McDonald's.
Yeah. Thank you, Mickey D's.
Well, we're going to talk about this amazing book, by the numbers, by the era. This book came out, I believe, in 2011.
You are correct.
Right? And it came out pretty dang popular. At first, you know, people were like, but it came out, multiple printings and all that. We got estimated print run, which is a crazy number for this time period, of 91,600 estimated. And estimated the Jajevic variant, just to throw that in there, which might be something you might want to consider buying, is potentially only 1,400 copies ever printed.
Which is 1 in 25, right?
Yeah, it should be 1 in 25, but the thing is, not every store bought 25 copies.
Yes, yeah.
So,
it is weird the way that works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is kind of weird. So, it's estimated that it's 1,400 copies. Yeah, 1,400 copies, probably you'll ever find out in the wild. Probably not even out in the wild. But anyway, so let's get back to the number. In 2014, 3 years after it came out, popular was, kind of okay, little high but not too high. You could pick up a 9.8 copy for $100. 2014.
I made a mistake.
And just 10 years later, it's up to the price of $930. Pretty big jump right there. It's hit its highest price in 2022. I believe this is direct edition, might be newsstand, but I believe it's direct edition, for $3,906.
Should be direct. I believe the newsstand got like almost as high as 40,000. Yeah.
So right there, just based off of the comic, not even the movie. The movie came out, I believe, in 2018. It's not even...
Sounds right, yep.
2016 or 2018. I think it's 2018.
It was an even number.
It was an even number, exactly. So it hasn't even hit its first decade since the movie came out. It has hit its first decade since the book came out. And as you can we'll see. It did make a decent jump. So historically, when it hits that 20-year mark, even from when it first came out, it shouldn't have a pretty nice increase. It should have a pretty nice increase. But I think what's really going to really kick this book off is when people, start coming into some money and they want to get his first appearance because they remember him in the 2018 movie. But of course, there's going to be a big range of when those people, let's say they're 10 years old, it's going to be 30 years when they hit 40, when they're going to have a bunch of cash in their pockets.
Mm-hmm.
And all of them will want to buy it all at the same time. And what's going to be really crazy is that so many people watched that movie. The amount of competition for this book, especially the Djevik variant, is going to make this book, in my opinion, I could be wrong, make this book blow up once again. Insane, especially for the Djevik variant.
Yeah, it's amazing how many people, just everyday regular folk, know who Miles Morales is. That's really cool. That a character that came out in 2011, just everybody knows who he is, because not very many other people know the other characters that well. I mean, even like Kamala Khan's had her own show, her own TV show on Disney Plus, but I guarantee if you ask just an average person, do you know Kamala Khan? They'll probably say no. But most everybody knows who Miles Morales is, despite whether even they're a comic book fan. So it's a crazy thing. It's a very, very cool thing, and definitely another exciting book to think about. It kind of falls in line with the first appearance of Deadpool, where we do have a book that's relatively newer that actually has quite a bit of value, and maybe shouldn't have. Maybe there shouldn't be books that are that expensive that are this new, but they are, which is cool. Because there's a lot of this book out there, but there's still a lot of demand for it. So I don't think anybody would turn this book down if it was for the right price to buy it. So.
No one. No one that knows anything about comics would ever turn down the price if the price is right.
If the price is right, yeah.
If the price is
right. It's not going to be like, I don't like buying Miles Morales comics. Like, yeah, right. Yeah, right. So, on this journey of investing through the years, have we all learned something?
Yeah, I think we have. I think we all are leaping on a good point right here.
My confidence has been boosted, Zach. I feel more confident to buy. Next time I go to buy an Action Comics #1, I'll know exactly what to think about.
And just for a good example, we talk about books, and we talk about a book that really currently came out recently, relatively. Does that make sense? Right?
Relatively
recently came out. And here's another book, because right now it's in the news. You got X-23's first appearance in NYX #3, New York X-Men.
I can't believe I just figured that out. Like a few weeks ago. I just thought it was NYX. And he's like, oh, it's New York X-Men. I'm like, I feel so dumb.
Anyway, she's going to be in the Deadpool movie. And again, this is probably wait a couple months until it comes out, and then it's probably going to be a great price to get it, and it's only going to go up. 181 level. Oh yeah.
Zach's hoping. All right, guys. Do all the awesome YouTube stuff for us. Hit the like button right now. Do it for the princess. She's right here. And subscribe if you ever want to hear more how-to videos. This is really exciting. This is actually a really fun video and Zach's brainchild. So leave a comment down below. Let him know what you think about his idea for investing in comics, and if you think this was a great show so we can do more like this. We need your guys' reciprocation of intelligence.
Yes, reciprocation.
And hit the notification bell so we can all hang out with you guys this Wednesday. We will be live to talk about New Comic Book Day, but more importantly, I like sharing stories with you guys, and I also like being able to have conversations with you guys back and forth. So if you haven't ever made our live show on Wednesday, please show up. Just hang out, ask us questions, tell us what books you like, tell us what you picked up. We always stop the show and talk to everyone that talks during the show. So you guys are more important than what kind of the content we're making on that show. It's mainly just talking to our friends is the more important part of that one. So, and Zach, you got anything else?
Yeah, sure. How you do that is you share this video with everybody so they can know how to buy books with confidence. Timing the market is better than timing the market. That's how you get those gains.
2048. Be prepared. Be prepared for 2048.
Cha-ching.
Until we see you next time, stay safe and remember,
get those gains.
Get 'em.
Every single one.